And I met a Jungian psychiatrist who gave me the rest of the information I needed to put the whole story together.
The oldest person on the kibbutz.
He wasn't a Freudian, he was a Jungian.
Right.
You see, Freud only saw one extreme. The ego, the ego type.
No, he had gone down to 3 levels.
But he only saw one thing. Jung saw the other extreme.
Freud took on.
Okay, good evening everyone and welcome. So we are coming up to a very powerful Shabbat. It's called the Shabbos of Power. Why is it called the Shabbos of Power? Because it's referred to as Shabbat Chazak. Chazak is what we say when we conclude one of the Chumashim. Chumash, which is the Torah or the Bible, is stemming from the Hebrew word Chamesh, which means 5. These are the 5 books, what we know in English as the 5 books of Moshe: Bereshit, Shmot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, and Dvarim. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, the Deuteronomy. And each book is considered his own sefer, his own book. And when we finish reading it on the weekly basis of Torah reading, what we do is we declare all together Chazak, Chazak, Venit Chazek. Which means be strong, and we should all be strengthened. The purpose for that Chazak and the source for that custom probably has to do with that which originally, when people used to get their own personality out of Torah, they were also told, in some communities they still say it, Chazak, or Chazaku Baruch, which means be strong and blessed. Even in our community, some have the custom of wishing the other person with that wish of Chazaku Baruch, be strong and be blessed. And now that we finished our whole book, we are ready to continue to the next one. We need some extra encouragement and inspiration. And that's what the wish of Chazak, Chazak, we need Chazak comes. Let's be strong. I guess it started when God told Joshua, before taking the people into the land of Israel, so he mentioned those words like Chazak ve'emat, be strong and stand still, not to get distracted with the issues that he was going to deal with, and many of them. This is what the Chazak is. So this week we are concluding the 3rd book of the 5 books of Moses, the book of Vayikra, the book of Leviticus. And we are actually reading 2 Parshas, Parshas Behar and Parsha Bechukotai. This Shabbos we are going to make peace in Israel, between us and the Israelim. Why? Because if you remember, Pesach, when we celebrated the last day of Pesach, in Israel, they were reading, in Israel it was already the 8th day, which they don't observe a 2nd day holiday. So for them it was a regular Shabbos. So while they were reading Parshas Shmini, we were still celebrating Pesach. So when it came the following week, when we read Shmini, they read Tazria. When we read Tazria, they went to Achrei. So they kept on being ahead of us with the Parsha. And now is the time, this Shabbos, that we are going to join them. We in Eretz Yisrael are going to finally get together with the same Torah reading of Behar-Bechukotai. We're all going to say together, Chazak, Chazak, Venit Chazek, and get ready for next Shabbos Bamidbar, the fourth book, and the holiday of Shavuot. So a Shabbos that America makes peace in Israel, in regard to the Parsha, I guess that's the week that we got all kinds of statements of support from here, from America, about Israel, regardless of your political stand and position, and whether you like the people around. But I think that we have to agree that Israel was taking in strong consideration for its security, and credit has to be given to the one that deserves credit. So let's all relax and give our best wishes and blessings that now Israel has to deal. I don't know if you heard the news the last couple hours that rockets are coming in from the other side, from Syria. I mean, it was expected, after 3 but we never expected, and we are really have to join in learning and in prayer and the well-being of our brothers and sisters in Israel, especially the soldiers who are there by the borderline, watching and taking care of the situation. And God should help that it shouldn't escalate into something worse than what it is. And as we're going to see in this week's Parsha, what is, in a moment, I'm going to read you some verses. What am I expecting about God's relationship with the land of Israel? So before that, I would like to give a short summary. The old Parsha actually talks about Israel. The beginning of the Parsha is a mitzvah which actually applies only once we come into the land. You turn to page 697 in the English, Parsha's Behar. So the Torah begins, Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe Behar Sinai Lemor. Hashem spoke to Moshe on Mount Sinai, saying, Daber el Bnei Yisrael ve'omarto aleim. Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, Ki tavo el haaretz, when you come into the land, Asher ani noisen lochem, that I give you, ve'shafsa haaretz Shabbos laHashem. The land shall observe a Shabbos for Hashem. This is known as the mitzvah of Shemitah, the sabbatical year, which just like we are required to rest every 7th day, so too the land is expected to take a rest every 7th year. The farmers are taking off work, announcing that the field is ownerless. Everybody can come and enjoy and take advantage on whatever is in the field. They don't have any right to hold anyone back from benefiting from the land. And the farmers are entering the study halls. They're sitting and learning, retirement, involved in, concentrating, giving time for their spiritual growth, as much they were involved for 6 years in their physical responsibilities. Following that 7th year, the Torah wants us to count 7 sabbatical years, and then to come to a 50th year known as the Yovel, the Jubilee year. Again, a year which provides complete freedom and release of any debt. No mortgages for no one when it comes the Jubilee year. Then the Torah continues and speaks about how careful we are to be to somebody who was sold to slavery, to redeem him. What happens to houses which were sold because due to impoverishment or other challenges a person went through. And this is what the Parsha continues all the way till the end of Behar, dealing with slavery, and then we enter into Bechukotai. Oh, Bechukotai. I think we have to unlock the knob there. People are getting locked up. They can't come in. Not a bad idea. Oh. Bechukotai on page 709. Bechukotai is the parsha which talks about the blessings and the admonishment for following or not following the Torah. And then we have a subject called Erchin, which deals with vows where a person vowed to contribute to the temple the value of humans or animals, and how do you evaluate a person depending on the age, depending on the gender, and so on and on. Peace. Everybody wants peace. Shalom. I remember my dear friends, the elderly Russian Jews who were here in the early years, and they used to have a wish, Shalom of the Welt, peace on the world. That was their wish always. I guess they knew what they were talking about. You know, get a little older, they went through so many experiences that they knew that the best wish is to have Shalom. What is Shalom? Let's read together the first few verses of Bechukotai, and then we're going to go into some discussion on page 708, 709. Says the Torah, Im Bechukotai telechu, if you will follow my decrees, Ves mitzvosai tishmeru, and observe my commandments, Va'asisem moisam, and perform them. Venosati gishmeichem be'itom, then I will provide you rains in their time. What is their time? Rashi here says their time means a time when people are home usually. Friday nights. Friday nights. It's interesting that there is another time that this blessing is mentioned, and we actually say it every day, twice a day, in the second portion of Shema called Vehoyo im Shomoa. So there too it says, Venatati gishmeichem be'itom, and I'm going to provide you rain at its appropriate time. This is in Parshas Eikev, in the book of Dvorim. There, Rashi brings two interpretations. What does his proper time mean? Rashi says one explanation is that it's referring to Friday night, that people are home and they are not challenged by the rain. A second explanation that it talks about every night. During the day, you are in the field. You're trying to work, to sow, to plant. And the rain becomes a challenge. But when it comes at night, every night, is that you can relax knowing that the rain is coming down and it doesn't bother you because you are home, you're not in the field. And at the same time, it provides a tremendous blessing that you have rain. Here Rashi obviously talks specifically to the people who are involved in following Hashem's mitzvot. So he mentions the extra blessing, the night, a Friday night, which is a time that really there's nothing going on outside. Friday night, you're home. You're home by the Shabbos table. You're home, experiencing Shabbos. Just because David Schneider has to walk a long way from shul to his house, that's why the whole world is going to have to deal with no rain. We can move closer. Says the Torah, "V'nosati gishmeichem be'itom."
A little plug in there.
The rain will be at its appropriate time. V'nosno ha'oretz yevula, and the land will give its produce. And then look at that. Ve'etz ha'sodeh item piryoi. How do you translate it? And the tree of the field will give its fruit. Meaning there's not going to be barren trees. Every tree is going to serve a purpose. The Talmud in the end of Baba Basra discusses the future era, the coming of Mashiach, when there's going to be, all trees are going to produce, no naked trees, unless those trees which they provide by being barren. Then he continues verse 5 and 6, and this is the verse that we have to really talk now in these hours as Israel is involved in their security and protection. Your threshing will last until the vintage, and the vintage will last until the sowing. You will eat your bread to satisfy you. And you will dwell securely into your land. I will provide peace in the land. And you will lie down with none to frighten you. I will cause wild beasts to withdraw from the land. And listen to that one. And a sword will not cross your land. Which, as Rashi says, not only are we not going to have wars, which is obviously, that's what Shalom is, but sometimes you have one country fighting another country, looking just to cross through your land, making our way, give us permission. America wants to come into Syria, let me go through Israel. No, we don't like to see weapons, we don't like to see swords, we don't like our children to see any guns. This is not something which passes through our country. You're going to pursue your enemies. And they will fall before you by the sword. 5 of you will pursue 100. 100 of you will pursue 10,000. And your enemies will fall before you by the sword. And I will turn my attention to you. And I will make you fruitful and increase you. And I will establish my covenant with you. These verses, not too many more verses, 2 more verses, and then starts on verse 14. Many, 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 many more verses, the consequences for not following. How does it work? What is God expecting from us to do? Let's speak honestly. I'm putting on tefillin today. I daven my morning service prayers, my afternoon prayers, hopefully soon my evening prayers. I learned a little Torah, went to work, earned a living, a little. Is this okay? Do we deserve peace? Can we get all this blessing? What is he expecting? Seemingly the reading of the verse indicates, like I just said, Behar-Bechukotai telechu, if you will follow my decrees, Ves mitzvosai tishmeru, and you will practice, observe my mitzvahs, and do them, and that's it. Or is there anything else, something hidden, that we need something extra? He said, okay, just to be normalna, or something here is expected for us to be something above normal. What's the deal? Matter of fact, like I mentioned before, we have a portion in the Torah that we read twice a day, in the morning and in the evening, from Parshat Eikev. והיה אם שמוע תשמעו אל מצוותי אשר אנוכי מצווה אתכם, if you would obey my commandment, ונתתי מטר ארצכם בעתו, I'm going to bring you rain, ונתתי עשב בשדך, I'm going to provide grass to your animals, לבב וחלת, and you're going to eat, and if you're not, I'm going to get angry. What is it that we are expected to do? What does God want from us? Is what we say in Vayayim Shomoa the same what we say over here in Im Bechukotai Telechu? Then why is it being repeated? How does reward work? Is this reward? Take the question a step further. Just by following the mitzvahs, is that what we are going to get? Rain? Imagine, what are we, kids? If you behave, what are you getting? Candy. I don't know anything better than candy. Get a little older, suddenly it's not anymore just a candy. It's also tchotchkes. It's also some toys. Getting a little older, now it's not anymore candy or toys. Now make a deposit into my account. I want to see it in green. You're getting a little older, you say, forget about the green, give me good health. Give me a little nachas. So it's a progress. We keep on progressing. What is reward? It seems over here it's across the board. You know what I'm giving you? Rain, food. What's going on? So here we have to actually, to understand this Parsha, we have to see the first two words of this week's Parsha. And we're going to have to learn a little Hebrew now. Okay? It's always good to learn a little Hebrew. Bechukotai. What does it mean, Bechukotai? Shdota koya chukotai. What's chukat? In English, what does it say? Follow my decrees. Follow my decrees? That says in the next two words. Mitzvotai. Tishmeru. What is mitzvotai? Commandment. Decrees. A fancier word for commandments, or commandments is a fancier word for decrees. I'm not, as you all know, my expertise is not languages. Balshanut, which they call in Hebrew. What's the
Linguist.
Linguist, whatever, you know. That's not my expertise, you know it. Mitzvotai, Bechukotai. And if Bechukotai and Mitzvotai is the same, so why are you being redundant? Why do you mention the same expression twice? Rashi brings a very interesting medrash. Rashi says that when it says in Bechukotai Telechu, says Rashi that this verse contains the word Bechukotai does not just mean following my commandments, because it says already later, yes, mitzvosai tishmoru. Says Rashi, Yochoil ze kiyum mitzvahs. Is it possible to say that the verse Bechukotai means to observe the mitzvahs? כשהוא אומר, if it's mitzvahs hatishmoiru, arei kiyum mitzvahs omur. When the verse says, and you're going to guard my mitzvot, so it already mentions observing mitzvot, following the commandments. So it cannot mean that Bechukotai telechu would mean the same idea of mitzvahs hatishmoiru. This is mitzvahs, and this is mitzvahs. So mitzvahs, it's written specifically, mitzvotai tishmoru. So it must be that Bechukotai telechu means something more than just following the mitzvahs. So what is it? Says Rashi shetiyu amelim b'Torah. It doesn't talk about mitzvahs. It talks about engaging in an intensive Torah study. Not just learning Torah. Amelim means toiling intensively in Torah. I'm not just reading an article about Judaism, about the Parsha, www.chabad.org, Parsha, sitting with my coffee, a foot on a foot, stretched on my couch, browsing with my glasses like this or like that, taking a look what Rabbi this said, what Rabbi that said. Oh, Baruch Hashem, I can move on. Amelim b'Torah means that you open the verse and you go through seriously, intensely, trying to understand what does the verse mean, what does the halacha say, what is Rav Huna teaching, what is Rav Yossi teaching, what does Chassidus say, what does the Kabbalah say, to the point that you are toiled. You come out from the Torah study and you need to change your shirt. You are knocked out. You can't get up from your chair. I was so involved in trying to learn this Rashi, this Rambam, making sense of it. Can't move. Amelim b'Torah. This is the extra mile. This is not just learning. This is not just doing mitzvot, which obviously we are expected to do whatever we can do anyway. That's what Parshat Ve'ayim Shomoa talks about. Shomoa, tishmeu mitzvotai, asher anochi mitzaver etchem. You obey my commandments and you are being a nice, observing, practicing Jew. You check your list every night, shacharit, check. Counting the Omer, check. Learn something, check. Gave $1 for charity, check. Baruch Hashem. Sisu b'nei me'ah, you put your both hands on your stomach and you start dancing with yourself. I was perfect. Fine, that's also good. But we're talking over here, these very special blessings, no sword passing through your land, rains only on Friday nights. In 1 week, one rain a week, you will get everything you need. 1 rain a week, you will get everything you need for the entire week without being disrupted. No traffic issues. More than even the ongoing rain at nights, which is also rewarding. As long as it doesn't bother me during the day. But even the nights are quiet. You can sit on your porch because there's no rain. When is it going to rain? When you sleep anyway. When does a person sleep? By the night. This challah with the fish, with this. Even if you're sleeping by hook or by crook. And if you still don't sleep, say a little l'chaim also, and Bezrat Hashem, you're going to be doing the Jewish thing, which is to sleep Friday night. You know, it's at the Shulchan Aruch, the Shabbos day, people think it's a Chabad custom. Shulchan Aruch said the Shabbos day services should start later than usual. Why? So you can sleep in. I think I made it up. It's at the Shulchan Aruch. In the laws of Shabbos. I know, I don't talk to you. The invisible. This is the pshat ameilim b'Torah. It's the extra, it's not the ordinary Torah study. And when a person goes the extra mile, is when God comes and rewards us with this extra mile. Because this, what is written in this Parsha, my friends, is unexpected. This is extra. In the regular circumstances, this is extra. That every tree produces its fruit and rains are only on Friday night, and you can sleep in your bed, and there's nothing to be afraid of. There's peace in the land. It's possible, but don't think it's natural. And in order to achieve that, the price has to be accordingly. And this is Bechukotai Telechu. The Alter Rebbe in the Kutei Torah, he says a further insight into the word Bechukotai. The Alter Rebbe, he takes the word Chukotai, which means in Hebrew what? Laws, chukim. And he says there's another word very similar to Chukotai, which in Hebrew means something else. Chakuk. Chakukim. What does it mean, chakukim? Carved in, engraved. Something which is engraved. When you write, how do you usually write? You have a paper, piece of parchment, you attach the ink to it, and that's how you end up writing something. Which is a tremendous advantage that something is written, you can read what is written, but there's also a disadvantage to writing. What is the disadvantage? The fact that you attached something external to the parchment, that means there is a possibility for it to be separated. That's called letters being erased. An old scroll, you have to watch carefully because the letter jumps away from the scroll, from the parchment, from the paper it's written on, because it's two separate entities which were attached by the writer. That's called written letters. Then you can carve in a letter in a rock. Take a hammer with a little nail, and you go and knack, and you can make out letters, words. That's called letters which are engraved, chakika. What's the advantage of letters which are engraved over letters which are written? The ones which are engraved can never get separated from its stone. It becomes one with that which is written on. That's called the engraved letters, otiyot hakika. You know what the Alter Rebbe says? A person can study Torah, a person can do mitzvahs, but there is still a question. How much are you identifying with what you're learning? Or is it like studying something external out of you? Anatomy. You know what it means to learn anatomy? You take a body, and this is the hand, and this is the head, and you're poking the eye, and you're poking the nose, and it's like something which has nothing to do with life. And then is being involved in your own anatomy, my own being, which is a fully alive. Hakika, engraved, means that you are completely identifying with what you're learning. You're becoming one with it. Me and my Torah, me and my mitzvot are not separated, things which somehow join together. I want to tell you a story. Someone told me last week, I'm not going to use names because I don't want to embarrass or disgrace anybody. I don't want to speak Lashon Hara. A guy tells me, I was invited to a class at the company I'm working. And they offered lunch. So I went to the class. It was a class in Jewish mysticism. I thought it's interesting. I had my hour of lunch open anyway. So I said, let me go take advantage of a kosher bagel while hearing a good class. And there sat a teacher who was teaching mysticism. And he says, Rabbi, she was very good.
She?
It was a she. She was very good in what she taught, but you know what? It was clear to me throughout the class, she doesn't believe a word she's teaching. That was his words to me. She delivered a nice class, a lesson, and she explained the concepts, but it was so obvious that she does not identify with the word that she is teaching, that it felt like learning anatomy. Someone who is watching the body from the outside and discussing, discussing different body parts. I told them, you're reminding me, a Jew who told me once, I met a friend of mine in McDonald's. I said, what are you doing in McDonald's? McDonald's is not non-kosher. What were you doing there? You don't belong to McDonald's. He says, no, Rabbi, we were actually discussing kashrut. We were actually discussing the importance of kashrut. So you can imagine, this young guy tells me, sitting with a cheeseburger, forget about the cheese and the meat being separate with trays, but even let's say if they were kosher, but mixed together, and no problem, Rabbi, we were there discussing the importance of kashrut. You can do it. When it's not Bechukotai, when it's not engraved in you, when you don't empathize with what you are learning, you don't identify with it, you're not present in what you are involved in, what you're discussing, so you can see it in McDonald's and discussing the importance of kashrut. You can see it at a class, give a class in Jewish mysticism, and the student clearly realizes that you don't believe in anything you're saying, and it's dry like a bone. The information is great, but it means nothing, and you're not going to affect me with that class. Bechukotai means it's in you, it's a part of you. So if a person is able to follow Torah in a way that him and the Torah are becoming one, not two separate entities with some joint efforts, but you're becoming one, then is what this reward that we are learning over here, the peace and the tranquility, because then you are walking in a whole different world. Then you are involved in a whole different reality. Then you are in an atmosphere, in a reality, in a consciousness, which is so close with God that you have nothing to be afraid when you sleep. There is no enemy or anyone who is able to threaten you in any way. I told this story, I'm going to say the story again, the story of the engraved letters. A story which I heard from a rabbi who was in there, and he heard it from the first hand. The story happened with my wife's great-grandfather, who was a senior chassid and a personal messenger of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe here in America. He came before the Rebbe in America. He came a year before. Was supposed to be here only a couple months. He was sent by the previous Rebbe, and when he came here, the war broke out, so he already remained in America, and he stayed here. Being here in America, he survived the war on the one end, and at the same time, he never saw his wife again, and some of his children who died in the ghetto in Kovna. Shmuel Levit. So then when the Rebbe came to America, so he used to travel to the nearby cities to raise awareness about the Rebbe's coming to America, and also at the same time sometimes bring funds, but mainly to inspire Jews who lived in Chicago, in St. Louis, Milwaukee, who came originally from Hasidic families, but slowly but surely in America started straying off to another direction. He came into Chicago to a Yid in Chicago, and he was walking along with one of the rabbis, a local Chicago rabbi, not a Lubavitcher. When he walked into the office to meet his Jew, so the Jew said, okay, let me write you a check. And I don't have much. I didn't come to pick up a check. I came, what are you doing here? So the rabbi explained what is the purpose of Shmuel Levit's visit. And this is what he said. In the old country, they used to have small shtetl at synagogue, sometimes with the one Torah, and they used to have a scribe, a sofer, who traveled around 1 week in this little shtetl, another week in another shtetl, and what he was doing in those little shtetls, he was coming and checking through the Torah scroll, making sure that all the letters are there and nothing is broken off, no letters are cracked, and everything is perfect. And here he says what happened, that I came in, what does the scribe do? He has a quill, he has ink, and when he sees a broken letter, he fixes it. He attaches some ink to the letter and he fixes it. That's the job of a scribe. So he says that this is actually what Rabbi Levitin is doing. Every Jew is like a letter in a Torah. Sometimes the letter gets a little scratched, right? A little scrubbed off, a little detached, missing a little ink. So Rabbi is coming here with his ink, meaning with his teachings and his inspiration, is in order to fix that letter. How do you like it as an explanation? You buy it. Coming back to New York, sharing with the previous Rebbe what happened in that office, and the description which the Chicagoan rabbi was describing and explaining who Rabbi Levitin is, the scribe who is fixing Jewish broken letters. The previous Rebbe was not satisfied with that explanation. He says, no, that's not what we are doing. Why not? The previous Rebbe said what we just spoke before. There are two types of letters. There is written letters, and then there is which is called in Hebrew otiyot haktiva, letters which are written on paper or on parchment, and then there are letters which are engraved and carved in stone called otiyot hachakika. And the Rebbe said, a Jew is not a written letter. A Jew is a letter which is engraved in stone. What happens to those letters? They always exist. but sometimes they can be dusted. You come with a schmatter, come with a cloth, and you give it a wipe, and you polish it off, and the leather reappears again. That's what a yid is, the Rebbe said. You're not fixing them, you're just causing them to reappear by polishing them a little. That's Bechukotai. Bechukotai Telechu, says the Alter Rebbe, means Chakike. Chakike is, like we said before, you identify with that. It's one with you. And this is what Rashi actually means, not just learning Torah, but Shetiyu Amelim b'Torah. What does Amelim means? Amelim means engaged in intensive study in what you're learning. Intensive study because that shows that it's important for you. And you are one with that and you want to be a part of it. But there's yet a third explanation. He spoke many times that mitzvot in Torah have different titles. Now you have to remember, and I keep on mentioning it in all the classes that I teach, that when we say different words in Hebrew, especially in biblical Hebrew, describing certain matters, it's not just you can say it this way or you can say it that way. Every Hebrew word represents a different type of element, a different emphasis of that what you are trying to describe. Like we always speak about neshama. The neshama is called nefesh. The neshama is called ruach. The neshama is called neshama. It's called chaya. So it's not just playing with different words. Every title represents a different aspect of soul, a different experience, a different consciousness. And the same is with mitzvot. If you see that the Torah refers to mitzvot either with mitzvah, or chok, or mishpatim, or eidot, it's because there are different elements into mitzvot. They all mean different types, different sections, different ideas, what type of mitzvah is. And Jewish Kabbalah teaches that what is the definition of chok in regard to a mitzvah? When a ben is a mitzvah given the title chok, you know what type of mitzvah? It's usually the unrational commandments. Those commandments which do not carry any insightful explanation. Like someone mentioned before, there's a Parsha called Chukat. What is the discussion of Parsha's Chukat? Para Aduma, the red cow. And the old Parsha is called Parshat what? Chukat. The Parsha begins, Zot Chukat HaTorah. This is the chok of the Torah. Chok referring specifically to a mitzvah which has no explanation. Like Para Aduma, there's no explanation how does it purify the contaminated and how does it bring purification to those who came in contact with the death. How does this week's Parsha begin? Im Bechukotai. What is the advantage of those mitzvahs which are called chok over any other mitzvah? The advantage is that you're really only doing it because you accept God as the ultimate power and the one that we have to follow his laws, whether I understand or not, whether it makes sense to me or not. I know that I am to follow his statutes, his commandments. In every other mitzvah, you can have a certain feel of personal satisfaction or gain. Makes sense to me. Maybe, let's try it. Good idea. It's nice. It's cozy. Chukotai is mitzvahs that you only do. That's what I was told, and I believe that the best thing for me in life is to keep a relationship with God, and if this is what He says to do, this is what I'm going to do, whether I understand or not. Here is where a person again expresses what we call a surrender to God. Expressing self-nullification, bittul, complete bittul to God. There's no joy in it. There's no rationale. There's no inspiration. So what are you doing? That's what He wants. I'm following the boss's orders. That shows, and that projects, personifies us. Where are we standing in our relationship with Hashem? So that's why necessarily when you are following the Bechukotai type of mitzvahs, we are getting that extra credit of being sleeping restfully, peacefully, not being afraid of bombs and sirens and concerns and children and health. I am in His hands. I'm in His hands. What is there to be concerned about? Anywhere I'm going, I'm in His hands. And this is the Parsha. So now that we need this extra security, it reminds us again that there is a way to get it, and Hashem should help us, that we should be able to marry, especially in preparation of Shavuot, a week from this coming Sunday, Saturday night, to properly prepare ourselves, and to recommit ourselves to follow Hashem's Torah and to keep His mitzvahs the way we're supposed to. So now we can close the telephone a second, David. I want to make an announcement, which is not important for the Facebook.